The word sorcery, in the Greek Bible is pharmakeia, the use of medicine, drugs or spells. Today's pharmacy, pharmacist, and pharmaceutical, are all from pharmakeia, sorcery. The caduceus, a twin serpent staff, also known as Herald's staff, Hermes' staff, Mercury's staff, is the symbol of medicine, sorcery, and occultism. The caduceus is also the sex organ of Freemasons' Baphomet. Psychedelic drugs, also known as witch's brew, witch's potion, are the tools of sorcery, witchcraft, occultism, and black magic. A shaman would use entheogen, psychedelics, to channel both benevolent and malevolent spirits, for divination and healing. All traditional entheogen are herbs. They include peyote, psilocybin mushrooms, uncured tobacco, cannabis, marijuana, pot, ayahuasca, salvia divinorum, tabernamboga, Ipomea tricolor, Amanita muscaria. All these natural plants are poisonous, but also contain health benefits, just like Satan's tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, in which evil is added in the good. Lies are fabricated, when falsehood is added to facts. Satan continues to sow his weeds, till this date.
But while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away.
Adolf Hitler was a sorcerer, taking a cocktail of 74 different drugs. Satan's men, the Nazis, even created world wars, to harvest human test subjects, for medical sorcery research. On the other side of the globe, Japanese Shinto beasts tortured to death 250,000 men, women, and children, during their lethal human experimentation. Satan's knowledge of good and evil helped men discover their first synthetic drug, in 1869, chloral hydrate, a sedative hypnotic, a tranquilizer, a sleeping pill, which works on our central nervous system. Chloral hydrate, the first synthetic drug, leads to physical and psychological dependence. Chloral hydrate was used as a date rape drug. It murdered Jenny Boschiater in 1900. Chloral hydrate also killed an 8-year-old, Raven Blanco, under conscious sedation in 2007.
Medical experts now say an estimated 200,000 Americans die each and every year from medical mistakes.
Every 19 minutes, a person dies from prescription drugs.
Between 1998 and 2005, deaths from medications went from 5,519 to 15,107. The biggest culprits were prescribed narcotic painkillers.
1 in 3 patients will face a mistake during a hospital stay.
The first pharmaceutical companies were spin-offs from the textiles and synthetic dye industry. The first analgesics and antipyretics, exemplified by phenacin and aceanilide, were simple chemical derivatives of aniline and p-nitrophenol, both of which were byproducts from coal tar. In 1897, the first blockbuster drug, aspirin, was marketed by Bayer. Aspirin is the modified salicylic acid from white willow bark. Since then, mankind is fed with poisonous drugs on a daily basis, so that pharmaceutical companies may have continuous business success.
By the time a drug's approved and it hits the general population, we don't know even 50% of the side effects that are involved with that drug.
The drug industrial is the most profitable industrial in the world. This new way of making a fortune from fellow human beings' sickness is quickly learned and adopted throughout the world.
Now, the pharmaceutical industry, we know, makes money off of sickness and disease. If you're not suffering from a degenerative health condition, then they're not making money. So it's in their interest to make sure that you stay sick. But they don't exactly want to kill you, because then they'd lose a customer. So what they really want to do is put you in a situation where you're not quite dead, but not quite healthy and alive. You're somewhere in between.
The pharmaceutical industry first gained control of the teaching system. Then it gave the AMA the power to exclude all other doctors from practicing. Then it took over the entire drug testing process, while heavily influencing the medical publications that reviewed those drugs. And finally, Big Pharma extended its control over the federal entity that is supposed to verify those drugs' safety and efficacy.
There were a lot of things that we did day in and day out to try to get the doctors to write our drugs, or in my case, to write for the psychiatric drugs. We did a lot of lunches and dinners, and we brought in speakers, and those speakers were obviously paid by us, and we would wave, renowned studies at them from renowned journals. But of course, we would never say that these studies were paid for by our company, and that it was written by a ghostwriter who was paid by our company, or that our company tends to do a ton of advertising within that particular medical journal. We would never say that.
Mercury is now called thimerosal, hydrargyrum, and a multitude of other names. This was the same tactic used by witches to disguise their poisonous potions.
Some antibiotics do work, most don't, but the ones that do, they're toxic. They can hurt your kidneys, they can cause neurological problems, or the ones that do, sometimes some of the ones that do work barely work at all. And so what this newest data shows is that more than 200 hospitals and about 200 hospitals and nursing homes in the country, all of them have seen at least one patient with this superbug.
And essentially, the researchers added 3 different antibiotics. After a period of just 6 hours, they found what's called oxidative stress. That is damage to the cell's DNA, proteins, and lipids. So we're starting to understand a little bit more that the antibiotics themselves can really damage our cells' DNA.
And this is what a normal hip would look like. The ball is nice and smooth. You have cartilage layer here. The cartilage covers the bone, and that fits in the socket quite nicely. But what can happen is, such as in a situation when a patient does take corticosteroid, be it by mouth or via injection, the blood supply to the ball portion can actually die, and the bone can die. And the term for that is the avascular necrosis. And unfortunately, when that happens, when the blood supply gets distorted to the ball portion of the hip, this will die, and the joint won't work like a normal joint anymore. The patient will have a lot of pain and discomfort and disability because of that.
The case of a Brownsdale baby born with HIV takes an unexpected twist. Grandparents of baby Rico say he was admitted to the hospital and taken off his treatment.
The family believes that these drugs kill, and earlier this week, a judge had ruled that Rico has to stay on them.
Last night, Rico got a severe rash, one that the Nagels were told is life-threatening. So they took him to the emergency room at Mayo. Then they say doctors ordered Rico to be taken off the treatment immediately. This is video of Rico last night. You can see his chest is red from that rash. Antiretroviral treatment is a combination of prescription drugs. I was shown the warning label for one thought to have caused Rico's rash. On the label, it shows that a rash is a common side effect and that the drug can cause a serious allergic reaction that could cause death. This is exactly the reason why the Nagels don't want Rico on these drugs, because they think they will eventually kill him. However, this treatment is commonly given to HIV patients and is the recommended treatment by Mayo Clinic in this case. The Nagels say Rico will stay off the drugs until his appointment on Tuesday. Then it's up to their doctor.
Let's say the doctors say that he has to go back on the drugs. Will you comply with that?
He'll have to go back on the drugs. There's no choice about that. They will remove the child if we do not put him back on the drugs, or if we do not follow Mayo Clinic's standard.
The Nagels say they're in the process of filing an appeal of the judge's order. We called Mayo Clinic for comment, but officials declined.
I'm quite concerned that if we continue to advocate the use of the drugs in this country or in Europe, where they have the funds to do it, we may be breeding the eventual emergence of a multi-resistant virus that can come back and haunt us.
Some of the side effects of vaccines that we know of that are published in the medical literature, this is a short list. Autoimmune disease, lupus, ITP, thyroiditis, hives and rashes, reactive arthritis, chronic juvenile arthritis, seizures, MS, MS-like syndromes, CNS demyelinization, polyneuropathy, insulin-dependent diabetes, vasculitis, a whole long list of vascular diseases, visual problems like bilateral optic neuritis, central retinal artery occlusion, which causes blindness, hearing loss, profound deafness, nephrotic syndrome, and glomerulonephritis, which are kidney diseases, asthma, eczema, and yes, autism. And guess what? That list I just read you is just attached to the hepatitis B vaccine.
The birth control pill can cause early chemical abortions, and not many women know about this. And also, the pill is very dangerous for the woman herself. We've seen an estimated 25,000 lawsuits against the Yahweh birth control pill because of strokes and blood clots and all sorts of different terrible things that are happening to women right now.
When people realized the evil of Pharmakeia, the drug industry put on another garment, supplement, to deceive. There is now solid evidence, marijuana, Satan's weed, causes all kinds of mental illness, from mood disorder to schizophrenia. 80% new mental patients are heavy marijuana users.
I started smoking pot when I was 13 years old. I suffer really badly from bipolar type 2. It's a mental illness that I've been struggling with since I was 16 years old. I was hospitalized when I was 16 for panic attacks, anxiety, and depression. And I've been battling this my whole life. A little while ago, was a good brother in the Lord who, obviously he cared, and he gave me advice to come off my medicine. The doctor had prescribed mood stabilizing medicine for me, and he told me not to take it, and I really wish I would have. Because it's been hard, man, and I'm just done.
Remember? Marijuana is a psychedelic for channeling demons, who will come into drug users, through the drugs, and possess them, to create chaos in their minds. The chaos of the mind is mental illness. That's why when Jesus drove out demons, from those who are demon-possessed, they were instantly back in their right mind.
Then people went out to see what had happened, and they came to Jesus, and found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid.
Satan's weed, marijuana, has opened up a huge psychiatric drug market for pharmaceutical companies. Psychiatric drugs are deadly poisons. Psychiatric drug users pass their drugs to their babies from the placenta. After birth, the babies suffer from withdrawal. Psychiatric drugs also create violence and suicide among mental patients.
Matthew was an incredibly kind, gentle and compassionate young man whose sweet spirit was encouragement and comfort to many, the church's statement said. Unfortunately, he also suffered from mental illness resulting in deep depression and suicidal thoughts. Despite the best health care available, this was an illness that was never fully controlled.
Don't you dare entertain the idea that this man is a Christian. I don't want to hear that in my comment section. This is a wolf. You treat a wolf like a wolf. You don't let the, hey, let me pet you, little wolf. It's okay. Stay around God's sheep. Let me just coddle you. You kill it. You take it and you take a knife and you cut its head off. And then you say, that's it.
Satan has driven many to the corner, to capture them, with a simple tree, just as he did in the Garden of Eden, where he murdered all mankind with another tree. This video is not calling Christians to avoid medical treatment. Rather, Christians are called to be vigilant. Physicians and balms were provided to heal God's people in ancient Israel. Leaves are provided for the health of the nations in Yeshua's 1,000-year kingdom on earth, and in the new heaven and new earth. It's important to know that Yahweh alone is the ultimate healer. Yahweh alone is the ultimate healer.
Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then has the health of the daughter of my people not been restored? Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Your faith has made you well. Your faith has made you well.